All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, Carlos and Reshma. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay. I think you have very, very different time zones. So it's early morning on Carlos' side, and it's almost end of the working week at Reshma's side. So yeah, a big difference, but still we're all together, and I'm in the middle. Yeah, but it's a good time to speak on Friday to have this webinar. So now we're waiting for some people to join us, and we'll get started soon. Today, we're going to have a very interesting conversation regarding the feedback and the value of this tool and how to collect it, which are the best practices and the bad ones, and everything that guys can share with us, they will share. So I hope that it will be really, really beneficial for everyone since everyone is working with feedback in this or that extent. Okay, so now I see that some people have joined us. And yeah, okay, it's almost 2 minutes. So I think that we can get started. And from now on, I will share the screen on your side. And yeah, I think we can get started. So, Carlos, I think the floor is yours. And yep, good luck.
Thank you that much for the presentation, Tatiana. So basically today we're gonna be presenting the following topic, unlocking the power of feedback and a strategic guide for business success. So I'm really happy to have this collaboration with Freshma, who is gonna be um, taking some information in advance as well. And well, let's start. My name is Carlos Tello, as mentioned, and I am going to be presenting the very first introduction of this webinar. So, what is going to be talked in this webinar? So, basically, what we're going to be talking about is how feedback becomes important and what are the main challenges for feedback within or working um strategy and our working days. So with this set, we're going to be having three main topics to be talked about. Firstly, the strengthening of communication, where we have to make sure that communication is a tool for us that provides us the complexity and as well the corresponding skills to be growing and to continue our leadership. As well, the building collaboration, where we have to turn the feedback into a culture of shared success, which means that it's not only a benefit for us, but as well for the teams that we belong to. And finally, the driving of performance, where we're going to be learning how to get the strategic feedback and how to make it a business outcome for us. So we're going to be following the upcoming objectives. The very first one is to understand the value of feedback, where we're going to be recognizing what is the value of this process and where is the touch points that we're going to be having for both the giver and the receiver. Which are the feedback risks? So we need to understand what is the risk of having a poor or missed feedback and how to include it in a real world and the consequences of these risks. The best practices. So we're going to be starting to display the learn best practices for collecting, structuring, and analyzing feedback effectively, where we need to understand that there are a lot of things that we can do to enhance the feedback, but it depends on how we want to achieve it. And finally, the action and culture, where we're going to be discovering how to turn the feedback into actions and how to strengthen the benefit of feedback and make a really, really big effort to enhance the communication, the trust, and accountability of the feedback, where we're going to be exploring the ways to build feedback within that. For that, we're going to be starting with this topic that is the value of feedback, why feedback matters to us. Firstly, we need to say that feedback is more than opinions. It's more like an strategic asset. And why we say that? Basically, because we understand that the feedback is something that is more than a process, it's a way of working. So we have to understand that feedback in a continuous way makes us understand in a deep manner how are we doing and provides a clarity on expectations and performance, which means that it's not only ourselves having an idea of what is expected from us, but the feedback communicates in a deep sense what is going to be needed for that purpose. What I mean is that we need to provide with clarity what is the expected behavior for our job performance, and as well, which are the main skills that we need to continue improving in order to get a better working load and a better communication with the team members in our site or projects. It promotes continuous improvement. That means that everybody that gets continuous feedback is going to be knowing which are the strengths and the opportunities that we have in our day-to-day activities, and of course in the behavior that we have within our cross teams. And finally, it keeps the effort aligned with business and project goals, which is related with the understanding that everything is in a strategic way. So, in this holistic approach, we need to keep our feedback aligned with the expectations, not only for ourselves, not only for our supervisors, but as well for the business and the project goals that we are going to have. And of course, we are an important member of the teams. So everybody that has a working strategy defined and has a continuous feedback can make this happen in a better approach. With that in mind, we need to get a clear understanding of where are the main touch points for the feedback. So feedback is necessary for everybody that is involved on it. And we have two main stakeholders on the feedback: requester of feedback and responders of feedback. So most of the time, this process is a communication that gets either though face to face or within the tools that we have in the systems, or basically just in day-to-day conversations, or in either though like strategies that we have in the methodologies or frameworks, like for example, like the retrospectives in the Scrum. So what I mean is feedback is everywhere. We can get feedback every day. We can get feedback from every type of communication and interaction that we have. But most of the time, it needs to be a decision for the requester. So what is expected for the requesters? Firstly, is to get a clear understanding of their needs and perceptions. So what they need to know, because everything is about communication, everything is about information. So what do we need to know? Where is the importance of this confidence level that we need to raise in order to get clear feedback, and as well like actionable items to get the feedback into our corresponding skills and working strategies? We need to get direction from improvement or iteration. So what means is that everything that goes from the feedback requester needs to be digestible for the understanding of where the opportunities are and where are the strengthening processes to get. And finally, to align with the team and stakeholder goals. Because at the end, everything that is related with the feedback to be received is as well related with managing action items to get better understanding of where the opportunities are and how to make action items as well to make them get together with the corresponding ideas. So that is in the case of the requester. But what happens with the responders? They need to feel heard and empowered. So it's not just to get the feedback and then to leave the process behind. So the requester needs to take some action items to understand what is expected from the responder, and as well to demonstrate that it's taking the action items as well for solving the issues or opportunities that were expressed. To increase the ownership and accountability, we are really keen about the information that is getting responded. So we need to be in the place where the responders feel that confidence to provide us the ideas or the information, where are our opportunities and how to make them happen. And finally, strengthen engagement and trust. So this is something really important in the process. The trust and the confidence level that we have with our responders, and to be able to provide them a request of information from their side, is really important. So this is the important part of the process, because the communication is something that is critical in order to make this happen in a really good manner. For that, what we're going to be having is real life impact of feedback. So feedback is nothing if it doesn't come into like opportunities or into actionable items to be solved. So when the feedback is done with opportunity and it's timely and acted upon, it basically leads to smarter decisions and measurable impact. So this means that we need to be continuously requiring feedback in order to do a better working strategy for ourselves and for our teams and for our supervisors. So these are some samples that we can get into real life impact and the way that it basically generates new opportunities. So, for example, when a project is improved, delivery time after feedback is uncovered and communication is not a bottleneck anymore. So, we need to make sure that every day we have at least an idea of where are we going and where is the feedback getting, in touch with the corresponding working strategies that we're following. A new internal tool that can be reassigned based on early feedback from users, which means increasing adoption. So let's imagine that we in our projects have a new way of working, have a new strategy of doing our stuff. So then it basically will take the need to continue the feedback and to make sure that the adoption of these new tools or the new working strategies or new frameworks are correctly understood. And this requires the feedback to come over it. Cross teams is so common here in our working days. So when new cross teams are streamlined, then the feedback is revealed for duplicated efforts. So we need to make sure that when we're working in these like cross teams, we understand where is the value of the feedback and how the team can provide me benefits on understanding where my opportunities are while doing the working activities in conjunction with them. So that means the teams are so important for us, and the opinions of the team, of course, in a really constructive way, are really important for ourselves. So the QA process improves for bug triage and resolutions after feedback from the management that was received. So we have a lot of different day-to-day activities that can lead to the feedback and can remit to getting like important feedback for our growing and for our opportunities. I'm gonna be talking about a specific case for myself. So what is the context of this use case? So as part of a cross-functional project, I was responsible of drafting the user stories for a new internal tool. So what happened it was that within the retrospectives, I was invited to get some feedback from the development team or QA leads. And what it led to, it was to get some feedback that it was like the following statements. Some user stories assume background knowledge not everyone shared in the team. That means that I had an opportunity to make a little bit more simplistic the management of the user stories. A few acceptance criteria was requiring more explicitity which reduce the clarification loops. So that means that as well, I needed to adapt myself and the communication strategy to make it more efficient for the team's understanding and the valued samples of edge cases when available to make them a little bit more in touch with what are the main topics or use cases and which are edge cases that needed to be illustrated within the user stories. Which were the actions taken for that process, incorporating clarified context of the user story and making descriptions a little bit more clear for them, refined acceptance criteria with edge case scenarios so everything that was required was needed and expressed in the corresponding documentation, creating a quick reference glossary of domain terms for the newer team members. That is something really important because we assume that new team members, most of the time, will get into the learning curve quite quickly. And that is something that it was only an assumption. We needed to make more effort to put that in mind. And then finally, lightweight stakeholder feedback. So we can get as well a clear understanding of the holistic approach of the feedback. So not only like internal, but external. So that meant that the action items were taken into consideration in a better approach. So what is the results of this? So consistent understanding of stories across development team and QA, fewer mind spring clarifications, which means that it can lead to some time to continue managing the new features to be built by the team, higher confidence in estimating and delivering stories, and finally, a reinforced culture of collaborative refinement rather than reactive rework. So, with that, I mean that in general, feedback provides you with all of the different requirements that you need to understand where are the touch points that need to be actionable within your team members and, of course, within your stakeholders. So that makes you be more proactive in the way of working and make simple things to go in a better understanding of the features to be done. So why feedback is so important? Because we need to communicate outcomes with efficiency and effectively. So what I mean is that either though I am the responder or the requester of feedback, I need to share my opinion, but in a really constructive way. I need to be sharing my information, sharing the way I understand things, but in a really keen way to make this a career growth opportunity for whoever is in the process of the feedback. So I need to share what I know, what I heard, and to close the feedback within transparency. I need to be transparent. I need to be having a confident level that I can provide opportunities to my team members, to my stakeholders, to my supervisors, to my colleagues, in order to translate them into actionable items to use the feedback in a way that can provide purposeful change. With this, I mean that feedback needs to be something that gets action items, that gets a clear idea of whoever is getting the feedback, that it can get into a better understanding of their work approach. And finally, to encourage ongoing dialogue. So this is something that I was expressing before. The ongoing dialogue can provide you feedback even if not requested. So day to day, you can get ideas from the team on how to make things better. Of course, we have ceremonies like sprint retrospectives. Of course, we have tools for feedback, but as well, the feedback can be a way of living. So you can get continuous trust from your team to provide you the corresponding opportunities, or you can provide opportunities to your team every day and understand how they are getting in touch with them. So now I'm going to give the mic to my colleague Reshma, who is going to be talking on the next topics of today's conversation.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you for such a brief in introduction about the agenda that we are going to cover today. And for covering the part is that why the feedback value is important, okay, and how does this feedback value impact us to deliver what is been asked for, okay. So considering all that, I want to take a pause, and I wanted everyone to know that this is how we have seen that how the feedback makes a very important aspect in terms of delivering what is asked for in our entire development growth. So coming back to the next point is that what the consequences of the poor feedback leads to, okay, and how we can have the structured feedback and make sure that we deliver what we asked for, okay. So starting with, let's talk first about the quality, because let's just say that not all feedbacks are helpful, okay. And why I'm saying is that because we many times we have heard the term is that okay, this particular thing does not work, okay, or this is not actually, this doesn't look good. So that kind of a vague statement we have received many times, okay. So considering that, we have to consider is that poor feedback could lead to, like, this kind of a vague poor feedback could lead to misalignment of the product strategy. We do a lot of rework which will be, at the end, which will be wasteful. We will be just, exhausting our resources, and that ultimately leads to the slower user adaptation. And we make sure that uh, uh, that we deliver what we ask for, and we repeat the same thing again and again and again, and that actually reduce the retention, because every time though we deliver it, we don't deliver it what we asked for, okay. So this actually has a lack of context, clarity, and there is no action item, like Carlos has mentioned that every feedback should have, actionable item. So that this kind of a thing doesn't have an actionable item. So as a BA, like I'm working as a BA. So as a BA, what we think is that what we think ourselves is that we are the gatekeeper of this clarity. Okay, we channel the raw user sentiment, and we make sure that we have some actionable guidance for our product and the project team. Okay, so not just the BA, but the every product team member who is actually facing the end user, they should think about themselves as a gatekeeper. Okay, and they should derive the clarity and the actionable item from the quality feedback, okay. Now another thing, moving to next, is that what usually happen, okay. What are the things, what are the pitfalls of the inadequate feedback, okay. In real world project, these pitfall are like, it's very common. First thing is that we get the vague input, like I said that we receive a lot of, vague feedback. So due to this vague feedback, team build the wrong feature, okay. And sometimes even when we give this information to designer as well, they actually solve the wrong problem. Like we ask them, oh, we wanted a very slide, we wanted a slide on our website, but actually they deliver this, this channel kind of images on the page, because of the feedback was a vague feedback. And due to this, the developer actually many time they waste time, because they are implementing the functionality which no one has asked for, okay. And that doesn't actually resolve the core issue which we are trying to have it, okay. And this is coming from the part where like most of us have heard this in their past experiences, that many times we have received a comment as well, this doesn't feel user friendly, okay. What is user friendly, there is, that is not an objective term, it is a subjective term. So this is what the inadequate feedback does. It gives the wrong feature, solve the wrong problem, and actually waste a lot of time, okay. Now I wanted to actually explain this particular part with one of the case study, or it was one of my old experience. So what was happening is that we were working on one of the mobile app, okay. And in that mobile app, we when the release has happened, okay, we got some feedback just like the before, is that it's not user friendly, it doesn't feel right, okay. Due to this, what happened is that no one from the team member has taken this feedback as, as a serious feedback, okay. They did not flag this usability problem as like, okay, this is a feedback, okay. Though it was a consistent feedback, they didn't flag it. And because of that, these kind of a remark were ignored, deprioritized, and what it has result into, It was actually user has found this the type of usability they were asking for in some other places. Okay, and user churn has increased. Okay, and ultimately this kind of a thing actually lead to the financial losses. Okay, and they lose a lot of market share because of it. Now that's the one thing from the finance perspective, but the other thing is that you give the opportunity to your competitor to you actually open them a ground and let them know, oh, we are not developing this, you can go ahead and you can take our customer and you can provide them what they're asking for. So this kind of a deprioritization of this feedback lead to this kind of a uh, competitor advantages. Okay, and the another thing which is actually uh, apart from the financial losses and market share, we do lose the credibility, we do lose the trust. Okay, and that is a bigger loss than the money, because when we lose the credibility, though we offer some other experiences, user is not about to experience that because they have faced the experience in the past and they have seen they did not receive what they have asked for. Now they don't wanted to try your new features as well. Okay, now given this example, I also wanted to talk about that how this is not just the customer information, but many time is that our feedback actually lead to the impact on our team member as well. Okay, so we receive a feedback, we our product team gets the feedback, they create some they have some their own assumptions. Okay, and due to this own observation assumption is that sometimes they try to solve the problem which was not even there, or they are not even solving the problem which was asked for. Okay, which leads to the lot of rework. Okay, and many times the scope which was the actual scope they that gets script out. Okay, budget goes in the tunnel, and due to this lot of rework, this non delivering something which is not expected, that actually leads to the team morale. Okay, team actually feels the development team or the product team altogether feels like that they're not doing enough, or they are feeling rejected, or they don't feel value. And this creates a cycle of the illusionment and the blame, and this breaks the cycle. Um to break this cycle, actually, feedback needs to be timely, structure, clear, and it should deliver the business outcome. Okay. Now we talked about the poor feedback, what it does. Okay, what it does on the client end, what it does on the product team end. But now let's talk about little bit is that what happen when we receive a structured feedback and how we can prevent this issue. So these are the few things that I've highlighted, is that we have to establish a clear channel. Okay, feedback should not be scattered like all over the places, like we get the email threads, we get some halfway conversation, we have some tools like Jira, Confluence, and all that. So this is not how the feedback channel should be. It should be very clear channel. Okay, we need to have a very valid sources from we are gathering the feedback. Like for example, many times we must have seen this a lot in our trusted website, is that there is some negative feedback is also there. Sometimes those negative feedback are being paid. So when we are driving the feedback, it should come from the valid sources. Okay, this help us to actually set the right roadmap. Okay, and we actually try to analyze the feedback and make sure that we are actually representing something which is which is a coming from the right source. Okay, another thing is that we have to do is that we have to empower the team. Okay, so when I say the empower the team is that we whenever we are driving the story, every story has some history. Like your every story should have a real user voice, it should have an application linked to your story. So when you are starting any development, any feature, you should let the your developer or your team know that why we are doing this. Okay, from where this particular information is coming about, is there any feedback which was in line, which is why we are doing it, or is there any future application which is linked to our work, and this is going to impact the large audience. So likewise, you have to make sure that you empower your team. So this is how the structure feedback should be. Okay, so feedback should be actionable, accountable, and strategically aligned. Coming to the next part, so another thing is that continuous user feedback benefits. So what usually happen when we get the feedback continuously. So in the product development cycle, if you are specifically or working in the scrum cycle, we actually keep on developing and we are keep on releasing it. So if we are doing a continuous feedback based on this, we get the actual focus. So you might discover that user are struggling with the onboarding and not on the feature. So this actually, this problem statement uh, could be resolved if we have a proper structured feedback. Okay, it enhances the innovation because you've already deliver what you asked for. You have deliver what was the expectation. So now you have covered that part. Now you are going for the innovation. You are not doing a rework. You are not stuck into the same cycle. So now you have covered that chunk and you are moving to the next cycle, which is a innovation, where you will have a smart solution. You will do the things which is actually nice to have, not just must to have. Okay. And another thing is which is impacting our product team is that benefiting our product team is that we are boosting their morale. Okay. And when we actually see that what we have delivered is actually helping out or it is impacting the large audience, it help us to boost their morale and they feel energized in the work. So the goal is that to create a living feedback loop, okay, that informs, validate your strategy sprint by sprint. Okay. um, Now I wanted to take two pointers into this same section, is that effective feedback collection and analysis of that feedback collection. So right timing is clear critical over here, like when you are actually collecting the feedback. Okay, and the methods that you are using it. So to explain it in more detailed ways, that I have created a part where the phase method and how you can enhance your work. So the timing and the context of the feedback is very important. So when I say the timing and the context is that the right phase. Okay, right phase is very important. So right phase is like you can say, if you're working sprint by sprint in a product team, then definitely after the release, okay, you can have a right time to actually ask for the feedback. Okay, you can ask the team that, hey, I have delivered this memo, I have given this demo, is it can you just speak 2 or 3 minutes about like what you felt about it? Is there any remark you have for this one? And you can have multiple methods for this one, like you can have a survey, you can have a user testing, you can have interviews with your customer, or you can use the in an app you usually have your comment section, you have some prompt, or you have some that star rating over there. So likewise you can use a various method. Now you have a phase, you have a method. So how, like you can see that you are getting the information in a very larger chunk, you are getting information from many places. So here you can get the help of AI. AI could help you to monitor this user behavior and could actually help you to suggest the optimal feedback. Okay, that the hit feedback that you are actually looking for. Because good feedback depends on as much as on when you're asking, but also on the what you are asking it. So the timing and the context in the feedback is very important. So considering the same point is that how you can have a right feedback, right method, right phase by doing a simple thing, which is asking a right question. Okay, so when I say the asking the right question is that you have to make sure that whenever all the whenever the feedback is coming, not every feedback will have a question. Okay, and not all the questions are equal. Okay, but your question or the answer or the information that you want to derive from it should actually deliver the insight. It should not be just an opinion. Okay, so when you are asking a question or whenever you are creating a context, it should follow the smart framework, which we already do for collecting the requirement. So it should have a specific, it should be measurable, it should be achievable, it should be relevant, it should be time bound. Okay, so you can follow this smart framework. So every time you are creating a form or creating a question, you have to ask that, is this thing is following the smart framework? Okay, is it like what I'm trying to achieve, is it going to be achieved through this particular question or particular form? Now another thing is that you have to set up a collection method. Okay, so when I say the setting the collection method is, we already have, like we have a old way in the system is that we have certain forms. On those forms, user actually enter their data and we collect that information in and we call it as a feedback. Okay, but there are not just that only place from where you can collect the feedback. There are email surveys, there are like I said that we have a review section, we have a star rating, we have interviews, like when we go and when you talk to user, or sometimes while you're hiring a new talent, we actually tell them that, oh, scroll through our website and let us know what you think. So likewise you can collect this information from multiple places. And like I said earlier as well, the AI will help you to give the sentimental or optimal feedback in this section as well. When you're correct collecting the feedback from the larger context or from the larger group, use AI could actually generate a user personalized question for you. Okay, and this question will not be just on the surface level feedback. Okay, the question could go and actually hit the sentiment that you wanted to achieve, or hit the um, specific detail that you wanted to accept from the user. So AI will help you to generalize those questions. Okay, because our entire goal is to make it easier for a user to give you the right kind of a feedback. Okay, now we talked about, okay, we wanted a good feedback because poor feedback is not helping. We wanted to have a structured feedback, we can use the multiple methods, but how we can encourage for user to actually give the honest response. So we all have seen that we do receive a anonymous surveys. Okay, but we have to keep it as an anonymous survey. Okay, we have to let the user actually feel safe. Okay, and it should not be biased. Okay, whichever the user is actually filling out the form, that person or the user should feel that, okay, this is a very unbiased platform and I can write whatever I wanted. The form should be open ended so that user can actually express themselves and categorize the response based on, so that this kind of a information that we receive is actually help you to categorize the response in more of a sentimental way. So you can see the pattern, like I said, the AI can help you with this. So AI can actually help you to see the pattern of this feedback. It can actually help you to detect the hidden issues. Okay, and maybe sometimes the raw feedback that you have received, we have seen that we get the chunk of response, chunk of feedback sometimes, like the user usually explain the entire journey, how they have faced issue with this app, how they have started using and how it is working. So this entire chunk of information, out of this raw feedback, you can actually collect the actionable insight. Okay, and you can there is a actual LLM terminology is a sentimental analysis. So on the basis of that, actually you can collect, you can categorize the feedback. Since we are talking about this, there are certain tools. Okay, one of the tool we are already using, which is Excel. Everybody loves Excel, but apart from the Excel, there is a Tableau, there is a Power BI. Power BI and Tableau are mostly we have seen in the IT industries, that whenever we are collecting any informations around the product release, we use the we use the Tableau and Power BI to categorize and show the dashboard level of high level detail, is that how we are doing and how much of a rework there, and what we are developing, how many bugs are there. But apart from that, you can use the Tableau and Power BI to collect all this feedback and categorize this feedback and show it in a very proper way, so that people who are sitting on the management can actually see the trend out of that Power BI and with Tableau feedback. And another thing is that AI dashboard. Definitely, AI not just only help you to create the question, derive the insights, but can also help you to create a dashboard, provide a real-time insight, and detect the anomalies. Like if you are seeing the same feedback is going everywhere, AI can help you to actually segregate that. There are, like I said, that there are actually some natural language processing which help you to scale this open texted feedback, especially if you are having a very large scale. Like for example, there are bigger companies which have the huge market. Some of those are omni channel companies, or the e-commerce industry which has the huge user base. So in that case, actually this natural language processing will help you to actually get the scaled response from this open text feedback. Okay, so now we talked about the poor feedback, we talked about how the good feedback can help you, how it will help you the team, how the tools could come in handy. But we also have to talk about the feedback collection process. Okay, so this is a very common channel, but to reiterate this, we have to, first thing, we collect the feedbacks could come from anywhere, from email, from review portal, from the calls, from the interviews, from rating, or from open prompt. Okay, from anywhere the feedback could come. We have to organize that feedback. Okay, create a theme out of that feedback. Okay, define the source, define the prioritization of the feedback. Is that when I say that define the sources, like I said, the valid source has to be there. Okay, from where exactly coming, from what type of customer is actually driving the feedback. Okay, and what is the, like, if we see the certain pattern is repeating, how we can prioritize that. Okay, and this is where the AI could help you, because the trend analysis or the categorization of this entire chunk of information will be easier with the help of AI. Okay, and like I said the earlier, is that we can use our smart framework. Okay, a smart framework will help you to understand that whatever you are driving, or whatever you are organizing, categorizing out of the feedback, is actually the right way to do it. So every piece of feedback should have a path from input to action. Okay, now all in all, uh, the whole point of this entire seminar is that we wanted to talk about, like, uh, feedback isn't just a commentary. Okay, feedback is actually a strategy. We don't just ask a random feedback. We actually make sure that the feedback that we receive, it follows certain pattern. Okay, because the best result comes when we collect, like I said, collect, structure, analyze, and act on the feedback with the proper intent. Okay, and and to make sustainable, we need to build a feedback positive culture on that valuable dialogue and transparency and the follow through. So this is how the feedback evolves from reaction into business capabilities. I'm um, opening the stage for the more question and answer, because we have covered almost the value of feedback. Okay, what poor feedback could do. Okay, what uh, uh, how you can make the feedback in a good feedback, how you can collect the feedback, how you can uh, make the strategy, how you can engrave in the user's mind that feedback is very important. Okay, there are some AI tools. I don't promote all these AI tool honestly, but there are some AI tools actually which will help you to collect this feedback. I think most of you guys have heard about this monkey learn. So monkey learn is actually help you to collect the customer feedback. But apart from that monkey learn, there are other tools as well, which is available in the market, which help you not just to collect the feedback from the customer, but also help you to collect the feedback from the user research. Some of them are userberry. Okay, it actually help you with collect the feedback from the ux texting. Okay, and there are some employee feedback as well, which is actually our you must have seen already, is already in a workday. Okay, and there are some other tool which on a omni channel level people are using it, which gives you the more advanced experience, which is survey sparrow. Okay, zonka feedback. So these are the other AI tools are present in the market, which will help you to segregate this AI powered design feedback collection. So on that note, I open the uh, our channel for the any question and answer if you have. Okay.
Thank you, Reshma, and thank you, Carlos, for this very interesting presentation. And I'm pretty sure that now everyone knows why feedback is so important, how to collect it, and how to conduct the analysis of the feedback collected. So thank you very much for sharing this knowledge. I was really excited to hear it. So far, I cannot see any questions or comments for the webinar, for the presentation. So I'm pretty sure that if someone has some questions, please do not hesitate to contact Reshma or Carlos offline. And yeah, I think now we are done for today. Thank you again. Have a good Friday, have a good weekend, and collect your feedback properly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tatiana.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks
Yeah.
everybody for watching
Bye
this.
bye.
Yeah.